Hello everybody, this is Alan Beckley. I'm the inventor of the Wonder Wallet, and I'm doing my Facebook Live session a little bit late. Instead of yesterday afternoon, I'm doing it this morning early. Some of you who've watched a few of these, bless you, may be wondering, where's the monkey on my back? Well, today's session doesn't feature the monkey on my back, but the monkey's never far away. Here he is, right here. He's sitting in my computer chair. So that's the monkey. Say hi, everybody. There's the monkey saying hi to you. All right, so he's never far away. And unfortunately, I bet for many of you he's never far away either. And as usual, my name tag's all cattywampus. It's my website, alanbeckley.com. As I mentioned, I am the inventor of the Wonder Wallet. And today, our session is to talk about a simple concept that I think every inventor should be interested to know. And here it is. Toys are hot. More specifically, pet toys are hot. It's quite a great segment to invent into, and there's three key reasons. And I'll just show you my little invention. It's kind of noisy. It's a flashy disco light cat toy that I'm working on right now. And as you can see, it makes, after a while, annoying bird chirping sound. But it's motion activated. And I'm going to move it away because it does not always shut off real quick. Anyways, so that's one of my toy concepts, the flashy disco light cat toy. So pet toys are hot. So what I mean by that, why should you invent, I can't speak this morning, why should you invent into the pet toy segment? What is so great, what is so hot about the pet toy segment? It is a crowded segment. There are a lot of things in the pet toy segment. So I want to give you three reasons today why you should give some serious thought about inventing into the pet toy segment. The first one is that it is a very large segment and rapidly growing. So people spend on their animals every year $67 billion a year in America. That's a lot, $67 billion. And it's growing rapidly because I think in 2009 the figure was 45 billion, so it's growing that fast. So the total industry is $67 billion, and in fairness, a good chunk of that is food and veterinary services. But last time I checked, pet toys, dogs and cat toys, were something like $3 billion. That's a pretty fair amount of money. So it's a very big segment with a lot of money in it, right? So that's item number one. If you're going to invent into a segment, you want one that has a lot of money in it, that has some real potential, and actually one that hopefully is growing, which we'll talk more about that in just a few minutes. So it's a very large segment. So number two should actually get you perhaps a bit more excited. I can't think that any segment is quite recession proof, but the pet toy industry is close to recession proof, very recession resistant. To cite an example from 2009, figures, whose figures were they? I'll tell you. Oh yeah, so in 2009, when almost all major industries in the retail business were shrinking because of the Great Recession, pet toys actually grew 5.4% in 2009. So this is on the heels of a recession when just about every other retail segment was shrinking. Lots and lots of people are losing their jobs. You know, pretty difficult times for millions of people. Pet toys were not shrinking in sales, they were growing in sales. So you ask yourself, how could that be? Well, if you think about it, right? You want to get your toy for Fido or your little kitty cat, right? If you're afraid you may lose your job, or maybe you even have lost your job, and your cat's sitting there looking sad, well, you know, $9.95 to get that cat a toy, well, it seems like maybe that's something you can do. At least you can make your cat happy. At least you can make your dog happy. So many pet toys are not very expensive. Most, except really fancy electronic ones, are $30 or less. So it's an easy decision to make when you're in the pet store buying food for your animal to grab one of those low-cost toys. So even in a recession, pet toys do very well. Again, in this last pretty ugly recession, 5.4% growth in a year when everything else was shrinking. That's pretty impressive. It does prove out that even in bad times, people buy for their pets. People are very loyal to their pets. They treat them almost like their children. That's a great segment to invent into. So that's reason number 2, is because even in recession, sales in the pet toy industry do well. So reason number 3, I don't exactly have figures for other than anecdotal ones to some degree from talking to myself and others. And that is, when you buy a toy for your dog, and particularly a toy for your cat, you don't have very, very high expectations, right? In other words, I probably bought this little guy here from Kong, I think it was PetSmart, probably 15 years ago for my cat. It's kind of cute, right? Looks like it ought to be really great. Well, not so much. He swatted it once, looked at it and said, doesn't do anything for me. But guess what? Did I take it back for a refund? Well, obviously no, since I still have it. Why didn't I take it back for a refund? I'll tell you why. It worked fine, just my cat didn't care about it. Truth is, my 17-year-old cat doesn't care about a lot of the toys I get him. Some he likes, most not so much. So I didn't blame the toy on the fact that my cat didn't like it. And so I wasn't inclined to take it back for a return. Now I'm sure there's others who might have done so, right? But the thing is, we have lower expectations for pet toys because we don't know whether they're going to like it or not, and we don't really necessarily blame it on the toy. Whereas if you get an electronic item for yourself and it doesn't work right away, guess what? It's going back for a refund. So what does this have to do with inventing, and why should you care about refunds? Here's why. When you license a product to a company, as I've done with my Wonder Wallet, what happens is you get paid royalties on gross sales, right? Let's say you get a 5% royalty on gross sales of the product in the marketplace. But there's a minus sign there. Gross sales minus returns, right? So to the extent that there's a fair amount of returns, you and the licensee are going to share in that adjustment, right? So if you have a product that gets a lot of returns, then your royalties are going to be less. So the flip side of that, back to what we're talking about, pet toys, if pet toys tend not to be returned, as I am suggesting very much, then the return rates are lower. That means that if you have an invention and you're collecting royalties, you've licensed your pet toy, then relatively speaking, those royalties are going to be higher simply because you're not getting as many negatives, as many returns as you would get with a typical product. So that's actually pretty significant. So lower returns means higher royalties for you. So that's a good thing. So, pet toys are not returned as much as other items are. So really, those are the key 3 points that I wanted to make as to why you should seriously consider the pet toy industry. The first one is, it is a big space. We spend $67 billion every year on our animals, and of that, maybe $3 billion on pet toys. It is a growing space because only in 2009, 8 years ago, anyways, 2009, 2010, it was $45 billion. So that's something like 50% growth in 8 or 9 years. That's pretty good. And it's nearly recession proof, as proven out again from 2009. Sales actually grew during a recession, not shrinking like most other retail industries. And again, people have lower expectations, so therefore there's less returns, meaning your royalties will be higher. Hi, Denny. So that's a good thing. So anyway, so those are 3 key reasons why you might want to invent into the pet toy industry. It's a big space, rapidly growing space, seems to be recession-free, and return rates are considerably lower. So with that, I'm going to sign off and mention on my website, alanbeckley.com, I have lots of information for inventors, and also I have a course for inventors, an online course called landyourlicensedeal.com. And it's everything I've learned about licensing over the last 15 years, step by step. So if you go to landyourlicensedeal.com, you can get all the details there. Anyways, thanks everyone for tuning in as always. And until next time, I'll be signing off and we will see you next time. Sai Chen.